It's hard to be happy if you are not healthy. And it's hard to be happy if no one cares for you. Healthcare is a uniquely human mission. I don't call it a job, it's a mission. But over time, we have lost that humanness. And I just want us to bring it back. The US spent about $3.4 trillion on healthcare in 2017, 18% of our gross domestic product, GDP. And by 2027, CMS says that the annual cost of US healthcare will rise from $3.4 trillion to $6 trillion. However, the OECD said that the US ranks at the highest average cost for healthcare per person, among developed countries, averaging at about $10,200 per person per year. But it also ranks in terms of healthcare performance at the lowest level among developed countries. And millions in the US live without insurance and healthcare, and this needs to change, and we need to change. But in the midst of all this gloom, I want to say that the impossible dream of highly accessible, high-quality healthcare at low cost is possible. So what is this pattern, right, for healthcare transformation? What are these things that are starting to bring about some kind of change? The first thing is human-centeredness. Healthcare, as I mentioned before, is a very human thing, right? And we've lost some of that humanness. If we think about healthcare in this way, it's really a leap of faith. It's not something easy. It's us saying, as healthcare organizations, as people, that we're going to put these things aside that we normally look at, business and all these kinds of things, right? Competition. And we're going to be human first. And that somehow, if I do that, people will pick us because they'll want to be with us. So that is a leap of faith. Not many people are brave enough to do that, right? But we have to do it. We have to be human-centered. And I'll give you a great example of this. I used to work in another healthcare organization before, and we were going around doing some design work, and we encountered this lady that worked in one of the clinics. And she worked as a front desk assistant. Her name was Angela. And Angela, was a front desk assistant, but she would meet with almost every patient that came in, right? And she would take their information and she would remember their birthdays, okay? And then she would send them cards for their birthdays. She would remember if they had trouble walking in, and then the next time they were coming in, she would ask a wheelchair to pick them up from their valet area and bring them up, right? She would remember if they had trouble getting there, and she would call them before the appointment and ask them if they needed her to arrange for transportation. Okay, so Angela really, really understood what it meant to be human. And what she really understood, I felt, was that if she had to care for somebody, she had to make sure that if they were in her care, she cared for them. Well, we need to be obstacle-driven. Okay, so you might think that's weird. You don't drive yourself with obstacles. You try to avoid them, right? But no. There was a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius who once said that the impediment to action becomes the way. That's the obstacle is the way. And the reason why he said this is because he felt that if you find an obstacle, or if you notice an obstacle, that you should not be sad or despondent. You should be happy, you should be joyous, because you can do something about it. You found something that you can change, and you can do something about it. And in healthcare, we don't do that as often. Many times, even as a patient, we will encounter a problem, and we'll just put it aside because maybe it's once in my life that I'm going to have that problem, or maybe once in a year or two. And in healthcare, as we work in healthcare, we also do the same thing. If we see a problem, we encounter it once, okay, we say, well, let's just let that go. We need to stop doing that. We need to find the obstacles and then solve them. We need to be obstacle-driven. We also need to be or try to make a lot of these obstacles we find and the solutions we create for them friction-free. Not just frictionless, but friction-free. We need to take out all of the friction that's in that, all of the trouble that a person has to go to, right? And we give patients a lot of trouble, not intentionally, but it's been a process that way for a long time, right? We need to take away that friction. We almost design friction sometimes into healthcare. We make you wait before you get an appointment, or even when you're on the call asking for an appointment. We make you wait when you get to the doctor. We make you wait to get treated. We make you wait for your results and for your labs and these types of things. And then we also confuse you with our departments, and we confuse you with our bills. And sometimes you see the bill and then you need a doctor's appointment. So we do all of this and we make it so full of friction. We just need to stop doing that. And there are great examples of this, where you take this friction out, and not just in healthcare, but in other industries too. And then suddenly you see all this value come to you, and all of this value come to the people that you serve. And that's important. And once we do these, what happens is we develop some kinds of models. Now, this is not a model that's going to change everything, right? It's going to change this little piece of healthcare. It's going to change this little piece of care. And we don't talk about them. We don't tell other people about them. We don't share them. Sometimes it becomes competition or, business that needs to run in a special way. But I think we need to start saying to ourselves that this is more human, right? This is us solving problems that we then, when we solve them, need to share. Why? Because we owe it to all of the people that come to us. We need to be concerned about health and wellness and not just about business and competition. And that's very important. So we need to build those models, and not just build them, but share them. And then finally, we need to persevere through these solutions with grit. Okay, everything I've just said now is not something that people have not discovered. People have discovered them. They may not have put them in the order I put them, but they've discovered them, and they know that this helps them change, right? But what happens is healthcare chews up innovators. Why? Is because healthcare is one of the few industries that is extremely, extremely obsessed with safety, because lives are at stake. However, we've also gotten comfortable with that safety. And so we don't want change to happen sometimes, and we use safety as an excuse. In fact, more lives would be lost if we don't do something about it, if we don't change. So the counter argument is actually stronger. If you think about what the CDC said recently, that about 40% of all the healthcare ailments that take people's lives, the top 5 are preventable. Okay, so people are losing their lives with no good reason, right? And things they could have done through healthcare, through our knowledge, that they could have prevented. And so we would do a great service if we persevered. And why with grit? Because grit is harder to chew, much harder to chew. So the pattern is simple. It's we need to be human-centered, more of that. We need to be obstacle-driven. We need to be friction-free. And then we need to take all of that and make that into models and tell everyone else. And then as we change healthcare, we need to do it with grit. We cannot give up. And that way we'll transform care. And that way we'll make health personal and bring high quality, affordable healthcare to all. So thank you very much.